Dr. Balaji, the next question is for you. Is there anyone who should not get vaccinated? And as a follow-up to that, why are healthcare employees supposed to get it first before the rest of the population?
Sure. Very good questions. Actually, there is no contraindication for this vaccine unless somebody's allergic to it. And there have been instances where a couple of people initially, when it was delivered in England, had allergic reactions. And from that, CDC has given guidelines saying anybody who has multiple allergies or a allergic state that they get allergies to multiple agents should be cautious, taking this vaccine. But truly, there's no contraindication for this vaccine use. Since the time it was started to be delivered in the United States, I just looked up data. There were about 1.8 million vaccines that have been given out. There were only 21 people who had any kind of allergies. And those also have had very good outcomes. So essentially, that boils down to about 11 people in a million, who may have an allergic response, but even they have done very well. They should not go for a second vaccine. Those 11 people in a million should not go for the second dose because they were allergic to the first one. But otherwise, it's a very safe vaccine, no contraindications at all. To the second part of that question, why were healthcare providers, ahead of everybody else in the line? CDC had looked through this problem because there were limited supplies available. And it was prudent for them to decide that the healthcare workers should get it, because we are in the front line. And amongst all the healthcare workers, people in nursing homes are right in the front. So the first phase has 1A, 1B, and 1C. 1A is healthcare workers and long-term care residents. So we are the first ones in the line. And if we don't get it now, if we don't get it in these three, clinics that we are holding, all healthcare workers have to wait until the general population gets it. Who knows when that would be? It might be March, April, we are not sure. So it is paramount that we all get it in this first round. And we should be thankful to the higher ups on the CDC that they have prioritized us to get this vaccine.
Absolutely. I think those are great points, Dr. Balaji. This is certainly an excellent way for us to protect our residents and those we care for. Kaylee, as a follow-up question to one of Dr. Balaji's comments, I have a history of allergies. So what else is in the vaccine and how might those things impact me and my allergies?
Absolutely. This is a great question. So what Dr. Balaji had mentioned about, there being no contraindications, but you really do need to know, your personal allergy history. The recommendation there is just if you know your very specific allergies to use this with caution. However, this doesn't refer to our typical everyday allergies that we think of like pollen or cats or dogs or things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the list of all the ingredients in the vaccine. I'll try not to get too technical, not to put you to sleep. But what I'm going to tell you also is some of the common products that we use every day that these ingredients are also in. I think it's really important too that we know what's not in the vaccine. So things we typically think about that we might be concerned about that are in vaccines are things like eggs. We know this is, certain types of flu formulations are made with eggs. There's no eggs in the COVID vaccines. There's no gelatin in the COVID vaccines. There's no latex, and there's no thimerosal. So thimerosal is that preservative that way back in the day, everyone kind of had some caution about, but there's no, which has since been disproven. However, there's not even any thimerosal in this vaccine. So what exactly is in it? And the answer is it has that mRNA, which Dr. Lash talked about. And we know that mRNA is something that's in our bodies working right now to generate protein. This is just an outside coded mRNA that's coming in to help us make special COVID antibodies. We know that there are some lipids in it, which are fats. You know, certain medications they dissolve in water, some dissolve in fat. So there's some lipids that are in the vaccine. The one thing that's also in there is a polyethylene glycol compound. There's many different polyethylene glycol compounds in the world of pharmacy, but something that you can equate it to is honestly Miralax that we give our residents all the time. There is a little bit of a difference because when you take it orally, it doesn't get absorbed in your gut, then we're injecting it. So the route of administration is a little bit different, but these are compounds that we're very familiar with and we encounter in our everyday lives. The next one would be potassium chloride. So that's what's in bananas. That's what's in potassium supplements. Those are things we take every day. The next thing would be potassium phosphate. These are in things like dairy products. The next thing would be sodium chloride, which we're all very familiar with. It's table salt. It's normal saline. It's things of that nature. There's something called sodium phosphate dihydrate, which sounds very scary, but it's in cream of wheat. So again, something that we encounter in our everyday lives. And then lastly, there's some sucrose, which is just simply sugar. So, you know your specific allergies, but just having a lot of allergies in general or different types of, normal everyday allergies is definitely not a contraindication to getting this vaccine. And if you're really worried, I did speak to Tammy before the call, and we don't have anyone that's gotten the vaccine at Legacy that has had this anaphylactic type reaction. Everyone has, gotten the vaccine safely. PharmScript, who is our pharmacy provider who will be administering the vaccines, do have those medications for allergic reactions on hand. So rest assured, if something were to happen, we have those medications on hand. They can be administered rapidly. So no worries there. Just trying to see if I have anything else that written down that's really a fun fact. Nope, I'm good. So like Dr. Balaji said, if you were to be one of those 11 in a million people who did have an anaphylactic reaction, obviously you're allergic to this vaccine and its components and you wouldn't get that second dose. But unless you're allergic to anything that I specifically just mentioned, you should be perfectly safe to receive the vaccine.